This past spring, I was gifted a gourd wren house, so I hung it on the corner of our garage, and almost immediately a pair of house wrens arrived and built a nest. I kept a really close watch on that wren house to see when the babies would come, and when the babies finally did come, they were always hungry. I think I counted 3 of them in there. And then one day, just like that, they were all gone, and the once bustling nest sat empty inside the gourd. I was faced with a little bit of a dilemma. I loved the gourd and how quickly it had attracted house wrens, but I was not at all eager to try to pluck the hundreds of twigs and other items that made up the nest out of the small opening in the gourd. After a while of thinking about it, I came up with a solution that I wanted to try out. I found this tiny saw blade, so I wanted to see if I could use it to cut out a back hatch on the gourd. I put the saw blade into one of the pre-existing drainage holes. It was working! But it didn't take long before the blade broke, so I grabbed some pliers and I powered through. Eventually, I cut around and created the back hatch. I was very interested to see what the nest looked like. I had been watching the wrens for weeks, observing their behavior. I saw them arriving with piles of twigs. Many insects for themselves and for their brood. I even witnessed them bringing out a feather and doing something else that I found fascinating. The wrens were removing their young's feces in sacks. They were keeping the nest clean to increase their brood's chances of surviving. Now to have a look at the nest. Taking a look at the nest, it didn't look like the twigs were held together with mud. It looked completely dry. The nest was a fine assortment of hundreds of twigs, string, spruce needles, and much more. I was keeping an eye out looking for any house wren feathers that may be left over. There were not as many feathers as I thought there would be. I have a collection going and had not yet collected a house wren feather, but I found a few here. Okay, the next phase of my plan involves drilling some tiny holes on the gourd and then drilling corresponding holes on the back of the hatch. And the entire time I was trying my very best not to wreck the gourd and ruin the experiment. And then to reattach the back hatch, I was using a little bit of copper wire that I had laying around. It was not easy or pretty, but I eventually connected and fastened the hatch into place. I'm confident that it will stay in place, and if I get another wren family, I will be able to clean it again and again, and really get the most out of the gourd. I shared the story of my success with the guys who gifted me the gourd, and I think going forward they are going to use this method and market these gourd wren houses as reusable. I will for sure keep updating on the wren box and whether or not another wren family settles there in the future. If you are considering getting a wren box of your own, consider this. The wrens are expert insect hunters. Look at that centipede. And if you are growing herbs like parsley or dill and are worried about black swallowtail caterpillars and other pests, invest in a wren house. They will keep some of the bugs out of the garden. For more nature videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Michael Evans, Windsor, Ontario. Have you ever had a wren box? Was it successful? What about a bat box? I've got a ton of bats around my house and I've been thinking about getting a bat box. I hear they're great at eating bugs, but mainly mosquitoes.